Hello everyone, this is Man United Inside again on it. Welcome back.
Sir Jim Ratcliffe identifies key transfer priorities ahead of Man United bid confirmation. Sir Jim Ratcliffe is said to be underwhelmed by Manchester United's recent work in the transfer market and is planning big changes at Old Trafford. Sir Jim Ratcliffe will reportedly order Manchester United's recruitment team to focus on homegrown talent once his partial takeover of the club is approved. The INOS chief remains on the verge of buying 25% of the Old Trafford club for £1.3 billion.
Ratcliffe will take over football operations and is already planning to make big changes, including overhauling transfer strategy.
According to the Daily Mail, Ratcliffe wants to see more domestic talent come through the ranks and represent the first team, similar to the legendary class of '92, which included the likes of David Beckham, Ryan Giggs, and the Neville brothers. Since then, United have lavished huge sums on foreign talent, with successes as well as expensive mistakes in the transfer market.
United's recruitment over the last decade, since the departure of Sir Alex Ferguson, has been extremely questionable. In light of that, Ratcliffe wants to see a new domestic-focused approach with more British players in the side. However, that could be easier said than done, with fees for British players widely regarded to be inflated compared to players of similar ability from abroad. Changes are already taking place behind the scenes, with Chief Executive Richard Arnold set to leave the club. Patrick Stewart will take on the role on an interim basis less than 2 years after Arnold was picked to replace Ed Woodward back in February of 2022. That change is set to happen by the end of the year. Football director John Murtough, who has been responsible for United's work in the transfer market, is also set to leave the club, as reported by Daily Star Sport earlier this month. Murtough became United's first ever football director when he was promoted to the role from his previous position as the club's head of football development. He was tasked with overseeing operations and strategy across all football functions at the club.
Manchester United make first contact for 16-goal striker ahead of January, very affordable release clause, as VfB Stuttgart star Sergio Guirassy continues to draw big attention from European clubs. Manchester United are named as a potential destination for him today. The story comes from Foot Mercato and talks about the excitement around the 27-year-old following his great start with the Bundesliga side. The outlet writes that 4 clubs have come forward for information for Guirassy.
Manchester United are one of them, along with AS Roma, AC Milan and Newcastle United.
It's said all of those clubs are looking for solutions for their attacks, and with the striker having 16 goals for Stuttgart this season, he turns into a clear target. What makes Guirassy such an attractive option is that he may be a very affordable signing, as his release clause is worth just €17 million. That can be triggered in the January transfer window. The player himself does not close the door to such an early departure from Stuttgart, and remains attentive to the offers he's about to get. With such a low price, it's hard to imagine Manchester United and others making any kind of offer that wouldn't trigger that low clause.
I was in disbelief that Manchester United made the same mistake again. Man United faced Galatasaray in the Champions League and made the same mistakes as they have done previously. It was never going to be straightforward, was it? Manchester United were threatened with a welcome to hell, but it quickly turned into heaven as they raced into a 2-goal lead on Wednesday night. Alejandro Garnacho continued his wonderful week with a well-taken goal, and Bruno Fernandes doubled the lead with a stupendous strike from distance. It was almost too good to be true. It soon turned out to be as well. United overcommit, giddy in their own sheer disbelief. Fernandes conceded a silly foul on the edge of the box and Hakim Ziyech punished them with a daft goal. Once again, United had managed to defy the odds and look vulnerable from a comfortable position. It was the story of their Champions League campaign so far. Even when Scott McTominay restored their 2-goal lead, they somehow found a way to conjure more manic mayhem. Ziyech fired in another weak free kick, and a good strike from Mohamed Aktürkoğlu made it count for little. United had never even scored a goal away against Galatasaray. They scored 3 and somehow failed to win. Just as they did against Bayern Munich and FC Copenhagen. It is hard to have any sympathy. Marcus Rashford's red card was seen as the turning point in their defeat to Copenhagen on matchday 4, but the harsh truth is that they didn't manage the game properly either, regardless of how many players they had on the pitch.
The bizarre quirk of United is that you get swept up in the emotion of the match, convinced this time will be different, before it invariably ends up folding in the exact same way. It felt different in Istanbul, but in the end, it was just more of the same. United, against all the odds, somehow threw away control from what should have been a comfortable position. Andre Onana's poor goalkeeping was quite clearly a contributing factor, but just like Rashford's red card on the last European outing, it was not the only reason they managed to capitulate. United had conceded 2 in 4 minutes against Bayern Munich, 2 in 4 minutes against Copenhagen, 2 in 10 minutes at home to Galatasaray and 2 in 9 minutes last night. You can blame the goalkeeper all you like, but this is a team with a fundamental lack of discipline, control, and identity. It is inexcusable not to close out a 2-0 lead or even a 3-1 lead against such opposition, who for all their quality on the night, are ultimately a team of Premier League rejects and has-beens. Ten Hag arrived with great ideas of constructing a side capable of dominating matches and soaking up possession, yet almost 18 months into his reign, they remain a side that relies on moments and counterattacks to cause any real damage. Insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. United have been making the same mistakes all season.
Andre Onana is doing what David De Gea did at Manchester United in his first season. If Andre Onana was a cat, he would be running out of lives after another error-strewn night for Man United. A Manchester United official's arm was draped around Andre Onana as they walked through the mixed zone on Wednesday evening. Onana volunteered to front up in Munich after he flimsily conceded to Leroy Sane, but not this time. Onana is the fall guy amid the fallout. Unlike in Munich, none of the United players visibly offered Onana a pick-me-up. Andre is okay, Erik ten Hag said. As I said, it is not about individuals. Of course, individual errors in football can make a difference, and you take responsibility for it, but it is always about the team. Ten Hag did not single out Onana, and a question about his possible lack of focus was batted away. Ten Hag preferred to dwell on the extraordinary Hakim Ziyech, his former charge at Ajax, and of interest to United in the summer of 2022. If Onana was a cat, he would be running out of lives. United are still in the Champions League, yet Onana epitomizes their chaotic group campaign of 12 goals scored and 14 conceded. He sparked collapses against Bayern Munich and Galatasaray in Manchester, while he was blameworthy for all 3 of their goals in Istanbul. Onana's near post was so open for Kerem Aktürkoğlu's equalizer that it was tantamount to a batsman not guarding their wicket. The stars could still align. If United beat Bayern in a fortnight and Galatasaray draw with Copenhagen, then Onana's sudden death penalty denial of Jordan Larsson in their win against the Danish champ